Hi everybody, this is SAAD for the SAAD Truth. Judge Apatow is a highly successful Hollywood producer and director. His movies include The 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up, and This Is 40. I've certainly enjoyed some of his movies, and in that sense, I'm a fan of his. In 2007, he was apparently ranked #1 on Entertainment Weekly's The 50 Smartest People in Hollywood. He has 1.84 million followers on Twitter. Sarah Silverman is a comedian and actress, perhaps best known for being edgy. She has 9.52 million followers on Twitter, so they both have very large and sizable platforms from which to share their ideas. They have both joined a growing chorus of individuals demanding that the publisher Simon & Schuster abandon the idea of publishing Milo Yiannopoulos' book on freedom of speech. The irony is lost on them. Last night, I posted an open message on my social portals to Apatow and Silverman, which I shall read here, followed by Apatow's response and my 2 rebuttals. So here we go. This is my message to them, an open message to Sarah Silverman and Judd Apatow. I'm a Lebanese Jew who escaped the brutality of the Middle East. Freedom of speech is not something that is readily available in that region of the world. Given my personal history and my 22 plus years as a professor, I am intimately aware of the importance of freedom of speech as the foundational right from which all other rights flow. Freedom of speech is so important that I've gone on record defending the right of Holocaust deniers to speak on university campuses. Few things could be more grotesque and a greater affront to historical facts. With that in mind, I would love to have you come on my show to articulate your vision of free speech given your recent positions on Milo. You both possess sizable platforms from which you influence the opinions of innumerable people. I do hope that you'll accept my open invitation. Warm regards, SAAD. I was happy to see that Mr. Apatow was gracious enough to respond to my message via a tweet. He wrote, "It is everyone's right to speak out against companies which support hate speech. He has the right to speak. We have the right to protest." And then I responded with 2 tweets. "Thanks for the reply. Defeat his ideas and protest them. Sure, putting pressure on book to not publish book is a bad idea." Obviously, I'm restricted here by the 140 characters. That's why there are some articles missing. And then I continued, "You're using a deplatforming strategy. Debate, defeat his ideas. Don't seek to remove his microphone. My invitation stands." So those were his that was his reply to my message, and then my 2 rebuttals. And now let me just go on with some of my prepared notes. To reiterate, the issue is not whether people have the right to protest Milo's book. Of course they do. And of course, this is not the government using its power to silence people from exercising their right to free speech. This does not make Apatow's and Silverman's position any less dangerous. This is part of the current zeitgeist in Western countries. Political correctness, vacuous virtue signaling, and a poor understanding of the value of free speech permits all bien-pensants to declare any speech that offends them as, quote, hate speech. Geert Wilders, the Dutch parliamentarian, and many others in Europe have been summoned to court for having criticized Islam. The justification for these legal actions is always hate speech laws. Ezra Levant, the Canadian media personality and lawyer, was summoned in front of a human rights tribunal in Canada for having had the audacity to publish the Muhammad cartoons back in 2006. Countless commencement speakers at American universities have been deplatformed because they were, quote, hate peddlers, quote, war criminals, and, quote, Nazis. Benjamin Netanyahu was stopped from speaking at my university back in 2002 because he is, quote, a hateful Nazi. Some feminists despise evolutionary psychology because it is, quote, hateful sexism that perpetuates the patriarchy. I could cite innumerable other examples in the West wherein people were stopped from exercising their free speech by other people. In nearly all cases, a hate speech argument is made to justify these actions, and incredibly, such cretins usually argue that they are exercising their freedom of speech to drown out your freedom of speech. Incidentally, if Apatow and Silverman think that Milo is engaging in hate speech, I will invite them to spend a few minutes reading what a certain religion repeatedly states about Jewish people. They are both Jewish, by the way. In those instances, it is not merely genocidal hate that one can find, but repeated and eternal calls for violence. I trust that if Apatow and Silverman are so concerned about the quote hateful rhetoric of Milo, they will soon be turning their attention to sources of hate that are extraordinarily more hateful and dangerous than anything that Milo could ever say or would ever say. Freedom of speech is everything. All of our freedoms flow from this foundational freedom. Apatow, Silverman, and the rest of the confused progressive bien-pensants should be assiduously working on their rebuttals to Milo's ideas rather than seeking to intimidate his publisher into dropping him. Short of a direct call to violence, no speech should ever be suppressed. Let ideas compete in the open marketplace, and may the best ones win. The "I believe in free speech, but" mindset is an affront to the spirit of freedom of speech. It is the means by which progressive fascists seek to drown the opinions of those with whom they disagree. I would venture that Apatow's and Silverman's mindset is extraordinarily more dangerous than anything that Milo has ever said. To use their terminology, they are being, quote, hateful toward liberty and freedom. My invitation to Mr. Apatow and Ms. Silverman stands. I'd be happy to chat with them on my show, for this is how adults air out their differences in a truly free society. They converse with one another, and then they shake hands once the debate is over. I hope to hear back from them. Have a nice weekend, everyone.